What do Falcons do? We rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general, the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Doc and a lifelong sports fan, coming back to you today talking about another Victory Monday for the Falcons, finally getting back to 500. We should be above 500, but that's neither here nor there. Back at 6-6, firmly in control of the NFC South after the Saints lost, and then Tampa Bay and Carolina were going up against each other, so somebody had to win that game. Tampa Bay did pull it off, so now the division looks like Falcons, Tampa Bay, and the Saints tied, with Tampa Bay having the tiebreaker breaker from earlier this year with a win over the Saints. Then you have the Saints. Then you have, unfortunately, Carolina. I mean, you're done. I mean, it's done. You technically could still be in the playoff hunt, but it's over. You're not winning every single game that you have left, and a lot of us are probably going to win at least one or two more games in the division, so it's done. With that in mind, this was a defensive slog, 13-8 Falcons over New Jersey Jets. And again, this is one that I said early on, it was going to be a race to 15 points. Whoever got to 15 points first was going to win this game. I was sort of right, because whoever got closest to 15 points was going to win the game. And that happened to be the Falcons for a very good defensive showing, considering that A.J. Terrell went down early in concussion protocol, and then you also had Nate Landman going down kind of late after he made a couple of impact plays throughout the course of the game. Didn't come back in, looked like a lower body injury, but thankfully he had his helmet on. It looked like he was rearing and ready to go towards the end of the game. They just were being cautious and not letting him in. The Meadowlands, once again, MetLife Stadium is claiming people with lower body injuries. So again, this is a stadium that claimed Aaron Rodgers on the first four plays of the year. It's claimed numerous quarterbacks and skill position players over the course of the years, and yet their ownership refuses to do anything about the field. New York Jets fans, New Jersey Jets fans, whatever you want to call yourselves, yeah, y'all got a little problem there. But let's get on more to the game. Falcons did not turn the ball over, though we didn't necessarily look tight at all times on offense, but defense looked phenomenal. We did start off getting a safety against us on the, I think it was the third drive of the game. It was mostly a punting battle, and for whatever reason, don't understand the play that we ran, but Bijan Robinson basically got tackled 3 yards deep from the line of scrimmage, which was in the end zone at that point in time. So just a busted play. I think Parker Hesse may have missed the safety on that block, or on his block as well. So he ended up with basically a free safety getting back there and being able to make a tackle for loss, which happened to be a safety. After that, though, Falcons ended up getting the touchdown to Michael Pruitt. And again, Michael Pruitt was set up off of a turnover, but ends up getting a seam going down the field for a touchdown. I think it was a 25-yarder, maybe 20-yarder. I got to look at that real quick. 20-yard touchdown, though he caught it further back in the end zone with a little toe tap to make sure he stayed in bounds. So, again, a really good play by Desmond Ridder, and I want to be very clear. Did Desmond Ridder play a great ball game? No. I mean, nobody's saying that going 12 for 27, 121 yards, one touchdown, nobody's saying that's a particularly good stat line. But what I am going to say is that Falcons fans, when I'm jumping on Facebook and jumping on threads last night to see how Falcons are reacting, all I see is negative. People are upset with the offense. If you went into this game expecting, given the weather, it was rainy, it was tough, it was just slush out there, it was terrible, you had a god-awful field, you had going up against the number 2 or 3 defense on both ends of the ball overall for the entire NFL, you had us with an already quarterback that's not even quite middle of the pack in terms of all starting quarterbacks. This was not going to be an easy game, and we needed to run the ball. We didn't do it particularly effectively, kept under 100 yards. We had 90 total as a team, 53 to Bijan Robinson, who only had 6 in the first half. Tyler Algier, who got a few pounds in there, but he had 26 yards. Cordell Patterson, 5 carries for 11 yards, the long being 7, so he was fairly ineffective for most of the game. The only thing I'll say that was good is that Kyle Pitts was fairly active in the passing game, which is finally something that we needed to see. He did have a holding penalty earlier because he was being called to block. quit using him as a blocking tight end, please. He is a great receiving option, and he showed that this game. It was very clear that Arthur Smith intended to use mostly tight ends in this game. You ended up with Drake London having 5 targets, only 1 catch though. But John Robinson had 5 targets and 3 catches for 26 yards, one of which got broken up pretty big on just a little out route later in the game. But again, overall, we did what we needed to do. Younghoe Koo is amazing. Jesse Bates getting an interception in a key moment in the game. I can't remember. I think it was Tim Boyle who did it, because right after Tim Boyle threw that interception, he got tossed out. And I ended up thinking that, oh God, we have Trevor Siemian coming in off the bench, a guy who actually has been a starting quarterback and has had success. Oh, this is about to be bad. But he picked up right where Tim Boyle left off and looked bad. You had, finally, Bud Dupree completing sacks. He had a chance to end the game against the Minnesota Vikings, and Josh Dobbs just escaped the pressure there. But you had Bud Dupree getting 2 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. We had 4 total sacks in the game. Arnold Ebiketie getting 1 at the very end of the game to seal the deal. I think he's had 4 in a row now. I'd have to go back and look at that exactly, but I feel like he's been involved in the pass rush a bunch of times. Richie Grant getting in there and having a sack at a key moment as well. You had Caden Ellis, who looked pretty good overall, but I will say Caden Ellis had a little bit of a mental lapse in this game. One of the times that I think they were able to get points off of this, but Caden Ellis, we were supposed to get the ball back. He had a very late out-of-bounds hit on Breece Hall on a 3rd down play, and again, it should have been 4th and 6. Instead, automatic 1st down, personal foul, and I believe they scored off of that drive, one of their field goals, but again, just a very costly mistake. But the other thing is A.J. Terrell, I think I mentioned that he went down already, but the emergence of Clark Phillips III. Now, a guy who has gotten a little bit of playing time as a slot corner, has not particularly looked good, even though he is a size fit for that role. But this is a guy that was playing outside at Utah for the entirety of his career. He has tons of picks in that position, and when he was given that role and he had to go in as a 4th round rookie and guard freaking 1st round Garrett Wilson, rookie of the year last year, Garrett Wilson, and does a phenomenal job on it. Gets involved on the run defense, shadows Garrett Wilson admirably, and looks great doing it. I don't have enough good things to say about the guy. You had Onyemata being a beast up the middle, so they really couldn't get anything going. We kept, what's his name? We kept Breece Hall to 16 yards on the game, a dynamic running back. Dalvin Cook was their leading rusher for 35, kept them to 62 total yards on offense. And we have now gone 2 games in a row without allowing an offensive touchdown. I don't know how many drives that is. At one point in the game, I remember looking up and it said 21 straight drives without allowing a touchdown, which now it's going to be, I think, probably closer to 25, 26 drives without a touchdown. But that equates to 2 solid games for 8 quarters with no touchdowns allowed through the air or on the ground. Now, again, we haven't played the best teams in the world to evaluate that. We did play the Saints, who are supposed to be better, and I think if Chris Olave did stay healthy, they probably do find the end zone there. But again, we've done what we needed to do, and it's a garbage division, but it's our garbage division, and right now we are running that division. Coming up, the Falcons have some tough games, some easy, some tough. We really need to win the next 2. And the reason we really need to win the next 2 is that we have Tampa Bay at home. That will be a game that I'm going to. It will be the final home game that I make it to this season. We have our final home game is Christmas Eve against the Colts, which I think is the toughest game that we have left on our schedule. It's Christmas Eve, though, guys. There's stuff going on. There's events. There's things like that. Just, won't be able to make a Christmas Eve game. It's tough. I hate that that's our last home game, and I hate that they're playing football that day. But that is a really bad day to be playing football. There's a lot of things that end up going on there. But we have the Buccaneers. We get them at home. Then we go to the Carolina Panthers. Again, Carolina looks like a bad team right now. Both of these games are incredibly winnable, these next 2. And we need to win them because that would put us at 5-0 in the division. The Saints already have 1 loss. I think do they have 2 losses? They may have 2 losses in the division. Yeah, they have us and they have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, yeah, if we win the next 2 games, we own all of the tiebreakers for the division. Even if the Saints beat us at the end of the year, If it's close, if we are one full game up on them, that game means nothing because we will have a 5-1 conference record, potentially a 6-0 if we beat them, but we'd have 5-1 compared to their 4-2 if they won, and it matters who wins your division in the divisional games. But again, we have the Bucks, the Panthers, the Colts, which I think is the toughest game we have left. Then we go to the Bears in January on New Year's Eve, or not January, sorry, New Year's Eve. We go to the Bears. That will be a tough game just because it's Chicago, it's cold, it's outdoors, and again, you have a running mobile quarterback, and you have a team that overall is not god-awful, but they are not a good team either. I would put them a step above the Panthers, and I would put them probably on par with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. The Colts, though, are definitely the toughest team that we have left, followed by the Saints. So we could easily go 5-0 to end the season here and get to that elusive 11-win season. It would be a very ugly way to do it, but we could certainly get an 11-win season. What I suspect is going to happen is that we are going to falter on a couple of these games, though, and we'll probably end up at 9-8. But if we had to falter anywhere, it does not need to be the next 2 weeks. We really need to come out of this week or the next 2 weeks 5-0 in the division, because that does have incredible playoff implications should we end up close with the Saints, or heck, even if we end up close with the Buccaneers down the line. That has incredible playoff implications. Again, Buccaneers don't particularly good. Congratulations to Mike Evans. I will say that. Congratulations to you. You had another 1,000-year season, 10 in a row. That is incredible. He's a great player. I hate that we've had to play against him for the last 10 years. And real quick in college news, Georgia Bulldogs losing. All good things have to come to an end. I'm sad about it, but we played a tough game. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot of times throughout the course of that game. We still had a chance towards the end. And if Alabama wins it all, which I have thoughts about how the committee put Alabama in over FSU. Did they pick the right team to make it the most competitive? Probably. Did they do an incredible disservice to a team that did everything that they were supposed to do to get in and had no control over injuries? Yeah, they completely and totally screwed over FSU. It should be FSU over Alabama right now. I'm sorry. I know Alabama is a better team, but it should be FSU. It's just the way that it should have panned out this year. And I do feel sorry and bad for the FSU nation out there. You guys did everything right, and it just really sucks for you. But real quick, that's all I'm going to say about college. Going back to the Saints, I wanted to look at their schedule real quick. They're probably going to win against the Panthers this week. They do get the Giants, who they probably will beat. They have to go to the LA Rams. I think that's very much a game that they could lose. They could lose in Tampa Bay because they've already done it once this season. And then you get the Falcons, and we played them at home. We played them in New Orleans. That'll be a game that very likely could decide the division. But this is what I'm saying. We need to be 3-1 or preferably 4-0. If we're 4-0 going into the Saints game, we win the division. Doesn't matter. We'll have 10 wins. There's really nothing that they can do at that point, given the way the season has gone. But again, we control our fate right now. We control our destiny. I still think that we need to have an honest conversation about coaching at the end of the year, and I'm going to talk about that more the second that we get booted from the postseason or the second that the season ends for us, because we do know our opponents for next year, or at least know the divisions that we're going to be playing, and we're still waiting to see how 3 of the opponents are going to shake out for next year. And it's a much harder schedule. I'll just put that out there right now. Much harder schedule where I can immediately see us losing 9 games without talking about any of the others. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. I'm at 200, guys. I never thought a year ago that I would be at 200 subscribers at this point. Thank you so much to those of you who have joined me for this journey so far. Thank you to those of you who are considering joining me and helping this channel grow. Would really appreciate any of you guys who have watched this and liked it and made it this far to subscribe and share this with friends who are Falcons fans and have them subscribe. Well, again, just trying to grow this channel, trying to grow the fandom. And thank you for everything. And as always, rise up.